straight in. No. There we go. All right, we are recording, and everyone's looking at our lovely faces.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody. This is episode 3 of Let's Kung Fu. It's the actual name of the series, since I know don't think I ever actually told you guys.
Let's Kung Fu, the gaming series?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Because I used to run a martial arts movie review website.
Oh, cool.
The domain name was just too awesome to
Yeah,
not
you gotta keep it.
So,
I mean,
I'm like, it works. You know, why not? These guys here next to me are the team captains from IBM and Epic, our finalists for AHGL Season 2.
yeah.
IBM, I don't think anybody is super surprised at how well you guys did.
Really?
Just
I'm super surprised.
Given that you guys have 500 million employees,
Yeah.
like, you were bound to have a good player pool somewhere in the company.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of finding them.
Right, and most of them found us after we were not allowed to add them to the team, I think.
Right.
But we did find enough good players that we were able to get pretty far.
Exactly, and Epic, I mean,
I think
don't
everyone-
think anybody saw that coming.
Well,
Like,
Epic's only 5,000 people, but we like to hire really young. We do a lot of campus recruiting and that sort of thing. So
And they obviously like to hire really good StarCraft players.
I was gonna say, is that like part of the interview process?
Yeah, you have to-
what's your
you have
rank
to
on the
play
career
against-
ladder?
yeah, you have to play against the diamond player, and depending how you do, that can kind of push your application. No, nothing like that. But just, I think a lot of people play it during school, and then we ended up with, 8 or 9 really strong players. And
Yeah, because this is this is
Went from
incredible.
there.
Like, I feel like Palantir. We're located in Palo Alto, right by Stanford. Like, they come out to our tournaments and watch our tournaments all the time. Yet we have 3 Master League players in the entire company.
Yeah.
We're a little smaller though, in our defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, why don't you guys just take a minute and like tell me a little bit about your teams and like your charity and.
All right, well, Team IBM, you were mentioning we had a whole bunch of people, so we would be a really great team. Our team started with just me and my Bronze League buddy, and we were trying to make a team. We were trying to get the word out. Eventually, we ran across the Tucson people, so there's a group of Tucson people that wanted to play StarCraft, and they were gold level-ish. So when we first started making our team, it was me as the best player, and then some gold level players down the line, and we were like, all right, I think we should be able to find better players somewhere at IBM, but if not, we're going to be very bad and mediocre. And we just kind of scoured the company. One of the really funny things that happened was each IBM campus is kind of on its own silo. So when we were trying to get the word out, we engaged with each campus and said, can you put this in your personal campus newsletter? And most of them didn't know what we were talking about. So the one that we thought was really funny that actually ended up getting in the newsletter, instead of saying the IBM StarCraft League, which we wanted, it said, all in caps, by the way, it said, come join the Internet Video Game Club. All in caps. It's like, that was good during that. It's not the right one. But eventually we got some really good players together, and we're playing for the charity Youth Service America. They're all about service learning for the youth. Well, it's good. Making youth do service and make a difference in the world. And a few of us on the team actually work or volunteer for the charity as youth mentors. So we had a connection there, and hopefully we could win for them. But this guy's an awesome guy. I want us both to win somehow. So
Yeah.
Don't lie.
Okay, I want to borrow this guy.
So Team Epic, kind of when I got hired at Epic, knew I wanted to create a team just because I watched Season 1, thought it was really cool, and it's like Epic's got a lot of software developers. They got to have some people who play StarCraft. So I started by putting up the StarCraft 2 and League of Legends AHGL flyer with
Sure.
all rip-off
Yep.
tags.
That you can't actually rip off if you print it.
Yeah.
You get a work order. I don't know if anybody else noticed this.
Yeah. I made it work, kind of. I ended up getting a ridiculous number of responses for League of Legends, and ended up there other people who all responded to me. I just put them together, and they ended up forming a League of Legends team that.
Oh, Epic has, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But I also got a handful of StarCraft 2 players who happen to be really good, and my office mate also happens to be on the team. He's craptastic.
Wow. Okay.
So it's
Okay.
it was weird
Multiple
when
players there.
I get to Epic the first day, and I'm like asking people if they play StarCraft, and then once I get to my office, I'm like meeting my office mate, and I slip in the question, do you play StarCraft?
Like, yes,
He's
I'm
like-
actually really, really good.
And it turns out he's a really, really good player, so that was kind of fortunate that kind of was a basic too, and then found a bunch of other Master League players somehow.
Awesome.
And we're going to be playing for Doctors Without Borders. They're a charity that does a lot of medical work internationally, a lot of areas that can be dangerous in poor countries and that sort of thing. It's a charity that Epic already gives a lot of money to, I believe.
I think it's a trade TLO and Chef are playing for. Right?
Yeah, I
They
think
raised
so.
money for it, or in Destiny.
So they're a really great charity, and I'm pretty confident we're going to win the $5,000. Sorry.
Me too. We're both gonna win somehow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great. So I know the answers for this, but they're going to be funny, so I'm looking forward to this. What did you guys do last night to prepare for the tournament today?
So we went out to an internet cafe and played StarCraft for 3 or 4 hours.
Took the standard approach.
Yeah,
The
the
people that want to
playing
win
the
take.
game that you're going to be playing the next day.
Sure. And Team IBM, how did you prepare for the tournament?
Yeah, we did the same thing. We went to the beach, had some drinks, and it was fun.
So it's a slightly different approach.
Well, I think our guys are confident. They've been playing for a long time, and they don't think anything crazy is going to happen in these games that they haven't seen before. Johnny's just nodding like, yes. Can feel the money going to my charity.
I was going to say, so if everybody looks like they're hungover from Team IBM.
No, I mean, I don't think they're. It was just social drinking, but it was. We hadn't met, and this is the difference between a giant, supermassive company and a small company. Is we'd never seen each other before, so we see each other on pictures and we're like, "Oh, you're Zy," and like my picture on Blue Pages, which is the internal IBM site, has a picture of me that I've always used since apparently I was 17. So like no one recognized me. They're like, "You look old." Like, sorry, that's my 17-year-old picture. I should probably change that. So I think when we finally got to meet each other, we're just like, "Oh, we need to hang out. We need to like really interact." And
Sure.
so that's what
Excellent.
hanging out on the bonfire was all about.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
Because I know you didn't go hang out with them. You came with the cool kids and you came and saw
Well,
Riot.
they wanted us to go to Riot and get fed, and I thought we'd get free stuff, and we did. We got like a
You did get
USB
free
thing.
stuff.
And I was like, "Can we get the free game money?" But that didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, and most importantly, you got to watch Day 9 cast League
Yes.
of Legends, which he has never, for the record,
That was
seen
pretty
before or played.
He's never even seen it?
Funniest, yeah, no, he's never watched nothing. And it was, honestly, I think it was the funniest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It was hilarious, man. I was really glad we were there, but
I was gonna say, eventually he gave up even trying to come.
Yeah, he just started telling
started
stories.
some jokes, and I think I literally think I started crying. I was laughing so hard.
yeah, I was like, me and my wife were playing against computers, and we were losing because we were mostly listening, and also we're really bad at League of Legends. I won't pretend that we would have won anyway, but we were listening and like not really paying attention. Like, oh, that guy just died. Well, Day 9 is really fun. So that was really fun.
Awesome.
Much better than practicing.
Yeah.
That's for losers.
Losers.
Actually, like I watched the Day 9 daily coming over, his daily number 100, because I wanted to show my wife what this was all about and who Day 9 was, and he was just basically talking about how hard he worked and how hard he practiced for all the tournaments. And it's like, no, we're going to not practice. So,
All right, cool. In just a second here, I'm going to load up your replay first. Disconnects me from BattleNet.
yeah, all the
Yeah,
patches.
all the
Yeah.
points.
I kind of wish they just had a new patch like yesterday that just totally screwed up the game. Like made stalkers do like 7 times the damage or something, and then we'd get here and be like, oh, crap.
All right, so I am going to hit this repeatedly in hopes that it's actually going to transition and that everyone is now looking at the game screen.
Oh, that's that Let's Kung Fu. Right?
Yeah. Well, and also actually looking at this at all instead of continuing to look at us.
Okay, that would be.
I don't know if you've been watching Day 9's show lately, but XSplit patched recently, and
Oh, no.
buttons to make transitions happen don't necessarily work like
Okay.
75% of the time. So you just have to hit the button to transition over repeatedly and pray. So this is a game that IBM submitted. It was from IBM versus Microsoft.
Mhm.
And I'm going to kind of hand it over to Dave and let him run things a bit.
And Johnny, you haven't seen this game?
No, I have not.
Okay, so I want you to help me commentate because you know things that happen in games and
Sure.
I may not. So to set up this game, this was the Microsoft versus IBM series. It happened in the championship round, and all the games were like crazy. Like the people who should have won lost, and the people who should have lost won pretty much the whole time. So in the first game, Zai played Bay. Zai's our team, and Bay is the Team Microsoft. And Bay did the Hellion Marauder all-in, killed Zai's natural. It was this horrible thing, and then somehow he ended up losing. Like Bay overextended himself too much and ended up losing, and it was this crazy game that Bay should have won. So we barely squeak out the first game. And then in the second game, Diofant was playing Heresy, who's another one of Microsoft's really good Terrans. And Diofant did like a hidden 8-gate build, and Heresy didn't scout it and took a lot of damage at first, but was able to hold it off, and then eventually sniped an observer, nuked all over the place, and they eventually won that. So the third game happened. Microsoft's best player, I think it was Luminescent at the time, but I still call him Megumi X-Bear. It was a terrible game because A-Train was preparing for a 1-1-1. He's like, I know a 1-1-1 is coming. I've watched this guy. I've seen what he does on ladder. Like, 1-1-1 is going to come. I'm going to make an anti-1-1-1 build. And he did a really good job with that, except it wasn't quite the normal 1-1-1. It was a Hellion-based 1-1-1. And a drop was coming, and A-Train put a pylon in the inception path of the drop. So we're like, oh, there's a Hellion drop, and we're like, oh, that's awesome. We know that a 1-1's coming. He knows that a drop's coming. He's gonna do this just fine. And he screws up his force field, and Megumi X-Bear ends up killing 25 probes in like one shot. And I was like, nah, crap.
Yeah, I remember I watched that game.
Yeah, it's like, well,
A-Train was mineral walking all his probes back to his
Right.
mineral line.
yeah, they all clumped up.
Ran into a force field and got stuck, and then 3 Hellion shots, I think, killed.
Yeah, it's like, oh god, the game's pretty much over at that point. So we were a little bit deflated, and we were down 1-2 at this point, and Thudbang is, we kind of have 2 ace players. Thudbang and Zai are kind of neck and neck for who's the best. And this was Thudbang's game against Ether. And we didn't know much about Ether. We pretty much expected, like, if you look at Microsoft's roster, they were pretty much mostly Terran and then Cow's Rule. And then Cow's Rule, like, didn't play this season very much for some reason. We couldn't figure it out. So we weren't expecting to play a PvZ, especially on this map. And I don't know why they just got over there. But I don't know. Do you see a lot of PvZs on this map that do 3-gate expand builds?
This is actually a 1-gate expand, because Nexus is already almost done. So those are the 2nd and 3rd gates going up after the Nexus.
Yeah, it seems, I don't know, I always do Forge Fast expand. I guess you can't really do it on this map very well.
You can, you just need more cannons, and it's harder to hold roach rushes, especially close air. It's just the ground distance isn't all that long.
So far, the expansion goes up, and Thudbang is getting his speed ready, and I don't think, actually, Thudbang was expecting any aggression. He scouted the fact that there was there was an expansion, and he only scouted 2 of the gates. So Thudbang likes to drone up. He is making a few wings, and little poke happens. I guess we can pretend like it's live. So this is a really genius thing that Ether did shortly. Is Thudbang sent all his links back up, and Ether made a wall. Or okay, he will. I'm telling you, he's gonna do it. Yeah, there we go. He makes a wall, like a pseudo force field, to kind of separate out all the lings on top and the base on the bottom. And I think this is the most fortunate part, is Thudbang was able to save all his drones from the expansion. But this ended up doing a massive amount of damage. We felt that everything was looking really bad. He just kind of caught Thudbang with his pants down and got in really good position, and was able to separate the bases out and basically take out the expansion. And I'm sorry, I keep keep zooming in randomly. I'll just stop hitting that button.
Yeah, that wall land is pretty different from that. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that with Zealots.
Yeah, it's really smart. And with those 3, I mean, Zerglings can't do anything really. So at this point, since I didn't really notice that Thudbang was able to save all his drones, I thought we were dead. I was like, oh, that sucks. We lose to Microsoft. But I don't know. What's your take on the game so far, Johnny? You're not too far behind.
I would say that Thudbang has basically lost at this point. Basically, Ether can just chill and deny that expansion. He's got a ton of gas.
Right.
He can warp in a few sentries and just not let Thudbang down his ramp.
Oh, okay. So you would think that he needs to stay and keep the pressure on here, make sure Thudbang just can't get down his ramp.
Yeah, I mean the only thing you'd have to worry about is, well, either the Zerglings just running by his army, or like a Nidus or drop play or something. But
right.
None of that's really a possibility at this point in the game, when Thudbang's been making pure Zerglings. It's just not early enough for that to happen unless he was rushing for it.
Yeah, and this was definitely a mistake, and a good catch by Thudbang to get all those a good surround on those Zealots and get not exactly free kills, but cost-efficient kills. And he just kind of wanders around, can't do much with the sentries in the area, and
there he goes, losing another Zealots.
There's still a bunch of cost-efficient trades here. I remember he was able to get sentries. But yeah, even more cost-efficient trades, although he lost a little bit of links there. So in the same time, he was able to get his hatchery back up, and he's still like way behind at this point.
He's still almost 20 supply behind.
Yeah.
14 workers behind. I'd still say that the game should be basically over.
Yeah, pretty much. At this point, I was like, okay, well, guess we're gonna have a first loss. Yeah, this was our 6th game, so we hadn't lost till this point, and we thought we were pretty good. And see, 5 gates, Robotics Bay. That's pretty strong, especially when you have the map advantage. He's doing some harass, although I don't think it was very effective with his Zealots. And my phone is ringing. Probably means I'm supposed to go somewhere. But we'll continue until this game's over. So Thudbang, I guess, kind of starts making his comeback here. He gets rid of the pylon. I think he's going to expand pretty soon. And get some roaches, and his economy is going to start kicking in. He's still actually way behind in drones. In the meantime, Ether's making a Colossus. He's just teching up. He's getting range, which actually I think he cancels at some point. Or maybe he leaves early, I don't remember. And getting just a really strong army with sentries, and basically all he has to do at this point is, like you said, block off the ramp and move in, and basically Thudbang's toast. So
still wondering how Ether doesn't manage to win this one.
Oh, that's a spoiler. I might have submitted this game, and Thudbang lost.
It's like, here's this game I really want to talk about. I got down in the beginning, and then he just it stays behind the whole game and loses.
Yeah.
It's like totally awesome.
Yeah, that's my favorite game of the season. So anyway, see you guys. So Thudbang wanders around. Like Johnny said, he's still way behind. He does have some upgrades. He's getting more, and I think either just at 1-1. Is this 2-1 he's getting?
I think that's just +1. Right?
Just getting +1, so he hasn't really kept up in upgrades, but he has 2 Colossus and all these sentries, so that's usually a good sign.
And is he leaving 1 Colossus behind?
I think both King.
Yeah, I think he realizes it.
Yeah. So at this point, like, if you just kind of pause the game here, Thudbank's so dead, like, incredibly dead. There's no way you'd ever come back from this. And this attack was like, well, okay.
Yeah, you're not gonna kill a ball of units with, what's that, 5 sentries with nearly full energy.
Right.
With roaches. 2
Right.
Colossus.
Yeah. So all Thudbang has is this guy, the Spine Crawler, and these roaches. And Thudbang does what he can here. So he decides, well, I can't actually face this army head on. This is gonna destroy my units. So I'm gonna run by, and Ether, instead of warping in at his base, does his warp in there. So Thudbang's able to come in and harass the mineral line and just wreck almost all these units. At the same time, this attack happens, and then the force fields come. You'll see the force fields in a second. So the world's worst force fields come. I think he wanted to make the Zealots do most of the damage, but what ended up happening was the roaches could come in, they could surround and do maximum damage on all the units. And then the Lings that were harassing came back and took out the Colossus. And I don't normally like to be on the mic when I'm on these games because I tend to laugh, and also my mic is usually really loud. So like Andy, who's a really good caster, will be saying these things, and then like over that will be like me going like like really loud and obnoxiously. So I usually mute myself, but at this point I unmuted the mic and I'm like it's like scream because it was just so awesome that we came back from that, and it just looks so dire. Like, I think objectively, if we disconnected at the point, at many points in time during that game, we would have just been like, well, Thudbang is totally dead. Like, there's no real way to come back from this. But just a bad engagement, and Thudbang surrounded and won this game. So that's how I won, Johnny.
Yeah, it's a good comeback.
Yeah. Some last minute intel as well.
Yeah. No intel. He will do something totally different. He won't lose his base and then come back and game. Well, he's using his versus Zerg anyway. So that was pretty much my favorite game of the season. It was like the biggest comeback. It was in a huge spot where if we lost, we were out, and this forced an ace match, and it was just, we could have been undefeated if we won the ace match, but this was still a great game. I really hoped that it was going to be cast. I just wanted to see what was going on. And Day9's computer unfortunately exploded before that was able to happen.
Cool. All right. Well, let me get the next one set up. I'm gonna hopefully transition back to video.
Hang on, I gotta.
Sure. No problem. This will also give me a moment to go, oh my god, why is my computer suddenly lagging? It's so fun watching replays where things periodically stop moving.
Yeah, it's actually my one of my computers that I play on is like that, where it just kind of pauses randomly. Like,
it's really strange because like this is a 16 gigs of RAM and a solid state drive and a 3 gig video card and like a Core i7 processor. It's like I can't imagine the scenario where this should be making this computer lag, but yes, I'm gonna let everyone look at me typing so I don't give away my awesome username and email address. Ah, hey look.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Advertised right there.
I was gonna say the Blizzard welcome page is advertising the AHGL finals. Let's see. We're gonna go ahead and.
oh, Blizzard is?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was on the splash screen when we logged in.
The community.
Wow.
Yeah, let's see. Can I get it? There it is.
Oh wow. Okay, well, I need to practice what I'm going to say so I don't look stupid in front of everybody at Blizzard, I guess.
Alright, let me start getting the next game loaded up.
And rest assured, every Blizzard employee will be watching.
That's good, because...
It's alright, we're having a viewing party at Palantir that's basically purely for scouting purposes. So that we know your weaknesses next time around.
What if we have no weaknesses?
That's a lie.
I just got a call that they think my credit card has been stolen because I've been making like withdrawals here.
Sure.
So they turned it off. Like,
That's
this
not
doesn't work
good.
anymore. Yeah, so at some point I should call back and.
Alright, well, everything looks okay, so who knows what's going on. I'm going to repeatedly hit the transition button and assume that it will go back.
Yeah, that'd be bad if it was just me talking to a camera.
Oh, I really, like, it drives me crazy. I at home, I've got, like, dual monitors, and I can't see what I'm doing!
Yeah.
And, like, like having, like, the game up, and then my little preview window on the other screen, and, I was half worried, like, halfway through that, I'm like, what if it stopped recording, and we don't know? Alright, but anyway, we should be looking at this, so I will hand this over to you.
So this is a game Epic played against Zynga back in week 2, I believe, of the AHGL. Zynga was the best team besides Epic in our division.
Right. Who's in your division? There's Zynga, Epic, and
Palantir, Mozilla, and Pipeworks.
Oh, right, yeah.
And maybe one of Shopify. So really, we knew Palantir had a couple good players and knew that 2 players could carry a series, so we were a little bit worried about them. And then Zynga had an all-masters lineup, so we were obviously worried about them too. And in the series, we traded games back and forth. Shamwell was able to beat Crabtastic, who's one of our best third players in a ZVZ. And so it was tied 2-2, and I had to play ZVZ against Shamwell, who had just beaten one of our best players. So I was a little bit nervous about this game. Thought this was kind of a season-defining moment, because if we could beat Zynga, then we could beat anybody.
Right.
So I was on Entombed Valley. Shamwell in the lower left, and I was spawning in the upper right. One problem with red versus green for the series, we had a bunch of Zerg versus Zergs.
Oh, Banelings are always green.
Yeah, when you have like Zergling, Baneling fighting it out, and the red and green, or like Mutalisks stacked on top of each other battling it out, it's really hard to tell whose are whose. They all look kind of the
So
same.
you always run away from your own units, like, oh, that.
And actually, we played you guys during the regular season, if I remember right. You crushed us. I think Tristan was our only win.
Yeah, Tristan successfully cannon rushed one of our Zerg players. He went hatch first, and then was like, whatever, come at me, bro. And Tristan came at him. Didn't work out too well for our player, but you guys actually were really close to beating us in one other game, which would have forced the
would have forced the ace. Actually, as a viewer, I was just like, come on, Epic lose one game. We want to see Jade up against Tristan. Except, we were all in the know. We already knew what happened, but I kept saying it in chat anyway, like I didn't know.
Honestly, one of my favorite parts of this was, as a referee, I had the greatest referee luck, I think, of anyone.
Yeah.
Almost every game that I refereed got cast.
Really?
And like all of the games that I refereed wound up being like the crazy awesome games. So I'm not sure how that worked out. I just kept getting the really good teams. Yes.
Well, I think as part of this league, when you watch some of the games are really unbalanced. Like you'll watch Epic versus Mozilla, for example, and Mozilla actually they had a 2-game win streak at the end of the season. I was really happy for them, but it's just Masters versus like Gold League players is just not usually very pretty. But some of the times if you got 2 teams with like both with Gold League players, it was actually really entertaining to watch the matches because you can't know what's going on. You're used to watching these really crisp games, and you don't know what's going to happen in those type of games.
Yeah, in this game, we both go for basically the same opening, 14 gas, 14 pool, start Zergling speed. The really only big difference is that I kept 2 drones on gas, whereas he pulled his drones completely off of gas. Um, and the big difference there is just he's going to get his expansion started earlier than me, but I'm going to get my Baneling nest started way earlier than him. So it can be a little bit dangerous. What's this guy doing? I think he's going to be going for the expansion. So my expansion will be about 35 seconds behind his. He's just now got 50 gas. So it should be throwing down a Baneling nest pretty soon.
ZVZ is kind of a match that's in phases, where it's like the first phase is this crazy bling aggression, and then it kind of settles down into roaches or whatever. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like,
yeah, typically both players are going to open Ling Baneling, just because early on roaches don't perform particularly well against Zerglings.
it's not in mass. They can get surrounded.
Yeah, like if you try to go for a roach opening, you're almost forced to make 5 or 6 roaches, depending on how close the ramp is to your natural, because you can wall a ramp with 3 roaches. But it just makes roach openers kind of hard to do, because if you make only a few roaches and it's not a map where you can just wall off and defend your expansion, then Zerglings can just surround them, and then you lose.
Yeah, it's never good to lose.
And it's a lot easier to be cost effective with Banelings defending Zerglings.
Right.
And that's why typically both players are going to open Ling Baneling. In this game, I think we both decide that we're just going to make some defensive Banelings and build drones, which I think is dangerous on both of our parts. I kind of just make 2 Banelings and I'm like, oh, I'm safe. But really...
well, is it something you can scout? Because you can't really get close enough to the base usually with your Overlord to see how many Banelings he has.
Yeah, so it can be really dangerous if somebody decides to hide Zerglings. This game, I see him run out with those Zerglings, and I send a Zergling to check for a fast third, and I get 1 Zergling into his main base. Scouting with Speedlings is super important in ZVZ.
Right.
Gives you a good read. Like at this point, if you were going for some sort of Roachling all-in, I could be able to tell that really easily because it'd have a Roach Warren where I run in there. There's no Roach Warren, so I know I'm safe against anything besides Ling Baneling.
And do you do stuff like count drones or just kind of see general saturation to determine how much he's droning up versus making units?
Typically, I'll just get a general idea, like, is his natural fully saturated, or does he have 1 gas or 2 gas? And I'm looking, has he started his lair? This game, I knew I started my lair way earlier than him because I got into his base and he hadn't started it yet. I believe at some point around here, when Day 9 was doing his cast, he called me a little nest teaser.
Yeah, and you were like...
Yeah, that made me really happy because my queens have so little energy at the 8-minute mark.
So I have a question for you because I don't get ZVZ. Protoss player.
Yeah.
The Zerg are the bane of my existence because of mutas. Honestly, I hate mutas. They're evil. Why do they not come up very much in ZVZ? They seem, since people go so Ling Baneling, I feel like having a unit that they can't hit would be more beneficial.
Well, in this game, I do decide to go Mutalisk. So we'll see an example of that. Basically, mutas can be a little weird in ZVZ because if your opponent gets up a big Roach Hydra army and you're just stuck on Ling Baneling Mutalisk, it kind of relies on you magically getting your Banelings to kill all their Hydralisks. Otherwise, Hydralisks just shred through mutas, and roaches just... Once you get a big clump of roaches, then it's really hard to kill it with Ling Baneling. So it's a little bit dangerous. If you open Mutalisk, the other player can successfully get a 3rd base up or just defend the mutas without taking much damage. Then you've thrown like 800 gas or 1,000 gas away, and then that 1,000 gas for them is 10 Hydralisks and however many roaches that is. So it can be pretty dangerous. This game, typically what you'll see Zergs doing when they go muta is throwing up a bunch of spines. Because if your opponent does decide, I didn't actually know the timing of his Roach Warren or how many roaches he was making at this point. He actually doesn't really have an army that he could attack me with, so 5 spines is a little bit overdoing it. But if you were making roaches, you really need those spines, because otherwise your lings don't really do enough damage before they just get cleaned up by the roaches.
Yeah, I notice your supply is way above his. Is he teching with something or?
I think right now the problem is just that he
Oh,
got a read on me going mutas,
Uh-huh.
and so he threw down a couple spore crawlers and then was banking money and waiting for his Hydra Den to finish.
That makes sense.
So he's only a little bit behind. I'd say the difference in supply is probably just injections.
Mhm.
So we're roughly equal in worker count, and mutalisks are actually more expensive per supply than other Zerg units. So
Right.
it just means that my economy and macro is a little bit better than his.
Yeah, I feel like.
Nice. What's that?
Well, so you're okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that a nice thing to do when your mutants first come out, you can either try to hide them and do damage to their mineral line, or just go around and kill all their overlords on the map, which effectively makes your opponent blind.
Right.
In this game, I believe ShamWow really should have tried to take his third base way earlier, because if you get your third base up and spore crawlers there before mutas arrive, then you're in a really great spot. Here, he ends up not trying to take his third until 12 minutes, and this kind of lets me continuously deny it. I kill his drone once with the Zergling, and then I use my Mutaflock. Basically, my goal here is just drone up my own third base and deny his third base, and make sure I have enough units to defend myself if he decides to just do a 2-base push. So here comes his drone again. Got sniped.
So is there like a number of mutalisks that can take on a number of hydralisks that you have a feel for? Or is it just if you never want to engage them directly?
You don't really want to engage them directly unless you have a very overwhelming majority, because Hydras do so much damage. If you're not killing them fast enough, then here I think it's kind of hard to tell when it's a Roach Hydra clump with Overlords over top. I wasn't really sure how many Hydras he had.
Yeah, I think, well, it seems like when Zergs have mutalisks and anything shoots to them, like the natural inclination is to be like, run away.
Yeah, here I lose control of a few of my mutas. That's a pretty bad move. But at this point, I'm feeling pretty confident because I've got my third base up. I'm transitioning to Roach, Hydra, and Fester as well, just because if you stay on mutas forever, Roach, Hydra, and Fester can be super, super cost efficient against it. So it doesn't matter if you're a base ahead and way ahead in economy if you lose everything for free.
Yeah, especially basically just need to get one snag on the mutalisk ball.
Yeah.
You lose everything.
So where am I mutas now? Over here.
Did you stop making mutas at this point?
Yeah, so at this point I've stopped making mutas. I feel like he's probably got Infestors out by this point, and I'm going to be switching into Roach, Hydra, Infestor of my own. So you can see on the production tab I'm making some Roaches and some Hydras.
He did deny his third for quite a while yours was up, so you probably feel pretty comfortably ahead of this tournament.
Yeah. I'm not really that far ahead in supply, but I do have an economic advantage, so the longer the game goes on, it'll be favoring me. Had this third droned up for a while. Even taking a fourth before his third base goes up, which is a little bit greedy. But
well, you can afford it, I guess.
Yeah.
And you see the map. What's his vision look like?
So ShamWow's vision is kind of,
yeah.
He doesn't see anything. He's got no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Here, he snags my mutas, so that's not very good. I'm not overly worried about it though, just because I've already made the switch into Infestors and Roaches and Hydras, and
Let's see, if I was ShamWow, I'd feel really good about that because you.
At this point, I get a little bit lucky. I do a Zergling run by into his main base, get past some Banelings, and then he actually lets Zerglings into his third base while that's going because he A-moves.
He overreacted.
Yeah, he A-moves his entire army there, and
oh well, that kills a lot.
Yeah, I thought Roaches would be coming, so I put my Zerglings on hold position so they'd keep attacking the drones even if Roaches came, but Roaches ended up not coming, so that's a waste.
I think he still got like 8 or 9 at least.
Yeah, so even though I lost all those betas, I'm now pretty comfortably ahead in supply, about to be maxed out, and I've got now my a lot of ZVZ late game is just about how much gas you're mining. So I've got my 7th and 8th geysers, which just makes it so I can make more hydras and more infestors than he can the longer the game goes on.
What's kind of like the best late game composition ZVZ? Maybe standard ones.
I think you just want to have a ton of infestors. Some people try to make a transition to ultralisks or broodlords. Broodlords can be kind of scary because if you morph a bunch of broodlords and your opponent makes some corruptors, then they can kill your broodlords for free,
Right.
and then morph their own corruptors into broodlords.
Yeah, I guess you can't really do much with infestors versus corruptors.
No, you can
Doesn't do as much
funnel
damage.
them a little bit. So here's the first big engagement outside of ShamWow's base. At this point, I just want to trade cost effectively or relatively cost efficiently. I've got a bunch of hydras and he really doesn't, so that kind of helps me out in this battle, even though he's got an overwhelming infestor count.
Yeah, he's just not enough buffer.
And he ends up having to use all the energy to cast some infested Terrans. And at this point, he's not really spending his money as well as I am. I thought my macro was really good this game, being able to keep spending all my money, even when I've got 4 bases of income. My queens aren't too high on energy. 50, 60 energy at the 20-minute mark is pretty good for a Min-Masters player. And I know so long as I keep him on 3 bases, and I've got 4 bases, and just keep trading with him, he's going to run out of money first, and I'm just going to keep building my supply advantage. And at this point, you can see I got almost 50 supply advantage.
I think that trade was even not just cost, but I think you even came out ahead on that.
Yeah, I think so. Mainly just due to the hydras. Hydras are kind of underestimated sometimes by some ZVZ players.
Well, they're weird units because they're so weak. Like they'll die to roaches, but if they're allowed to do damage, they just do so quickly.
Yeah. So there's a trade-off between using your gas for more infestors and using it for hydras.
Right.
At this point, I'm just checking for a 4th base, and you can sometimes get pretty good engagements on this map when your opponent's army is stuck right there, which is kind of what I was going for. But then he ended up getting a really good concave, and this engagement's not particularly good for me. But as I said, I know I'm ahead in economy, and I'm kind of got enough income to stay maxed this whole time as soon as I remember to spend it. So I'm not too worried about kind of just throwing units at him.
Yeah, and he's just now getting his 4th.
Yeah, so meanwhile he has taken this 4th base, but it's going to be pretty hard for him to defend that 4th base.
Yeah.
Just because he's been relying on defending with that ramp. And I've still got my 8 geysers worth of income, so it really helps in terms of gas. I think pushing out with these roaches was a bit of a foolish idea, just because pure roach, and I've got infestors out on the map, and he ends up just getting them all caught and killed basically for free. You can see he's actually not as far behind in supply after that engagement at his ramp.
Yeah, that was a really good engagement.
But
I wonder why that group was moving out. Maybe it was miscued.
Yeah. So here again, I try pushing up a ramp, and I think if he had funneled a little bit better, there's a funnel on the army. It's again a pretty good engagement angle for him, but I'm keeping his infestor energy low. It's nice if they cast a whole bunch of infested Terrans just to back up.
Yeah, they're so slow.
And then if it's just a few on their own, then you can clean them up.
So, do you know about the 4th, or are you trying to deny it?
I actually don't know yet that there's a 4th base there. I assume, like, how could he possibly have taken a 4th base with me just right in front of his base?
Like, that'd be pretty bold, so.
I am taking a 5th base, just because, yeah, ideally I'd take it here or up here, but I think I tried to, and he had some units denying it there. So this is kind of an awkward spot for him. My army in between his army and his fort. I think as soon as this creep gets far enough out, then I start to see it, and I'll move in on his 4th base. And I actually didn't realize at the time how close our supplies were. I thought since I'd been up a base the whole game, that's just to see where his army is. that I was really far ahead, but actually supplies are pretty close. I do have a lot more Hydras than he does. He's on pretty much pure Roach.
Yeah, how's the upgrade situation?
Upgrades, it's 2-2 against 2-2, so we're pretty even there. And again, he casts a lot of infested Terrans, which can be good, but typically you just want to run away from them.
Well, I kind of feel like infested Terrans are what you do when you're like, oh crap, I don't have enough buffer.
Yeah.
I need to save my infested unit.
So this is just an example of how Hydras are actually pretty decent against Roaches. They just do damage so fast that these Roaches kind of all just disappear. Meanwhile, I've got some more reinforcements coming in here. As soon as I took out that 4th base, then I thought I was really far ahead, and actually now the supplies are actually reflecting it. And I think even when the supplies were close, because I had more Hydras and he was just on pure Roach Infester, my army value was actually probably higher.
So I think at this point of the game, he's probably mined out too, right?
Yeah, his main's mined out, his natural's almost mined out, and his third's still doing okay because he took it so late. But I've got my 5th base going up. My main's mined out, natural's mined out, but still have 3 bases worth of income for the most part. So I'm still in a pretty decent spot. At this point, he sends out a little Roach force trying to do some backstabbing. Luckily for me, he doesn't know that my 5th base is there, because he probably could have killed that off. At this point, I'm just making more units. I want to just regroup, get some more infestors out, and then go for the kill, pretty much. Throwing some Roaches in there is kind of a stupid idea. They can get bungled and killed for free.
Looks like it's working. Oh, did he see the ripple?
I think he saw the ripple, which is pretty impressive because I never ever noticed burrow.
Yeah, I think if your graphics settings are really low, it's a lot more noticeable.
So I unburrow some Roaches in his 3rd. This is kind of a maneuver that's not really necessary at all.
Well, they get the units a little bit out of position, maybe.
Yeah. But at the same time, I've just got a much stronger army.
Yeah, you just kind of aim with this one.
My 3-3 is on the way. I'm actually getting a Greater Spire. Not that it would be particularly useful, but why not, you know?
Gotta spend that money somewhere.
Yeah.
He got his Roaches into my main, but couldn't really do much there.
Yeah, when we played ShamWow, he liked to try to do that. If he was behind, just send all his army at your base. And he was successful the first time. We lost in the base with us.
Oh yeah, that game was insane.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm breaking down into his 3rd base, so he leaves the game. And winning that game against Zynga put us in a pretty good spot to then go undefeated the rest of the way.
That was one of your... Well, the other, I guess, ace match you guys had was Shopify, right?
Yeah, Shopify, when we were playing the lowest ranked players on our lineup, and then managed to drop 2 games against gold players, even though it was like our lowest ranked players are diamond. So I was like, well, it's diamond against gold. So we went to an ace match, and I was just like, all right, guys, enough of this. 1-1-1 there for us.
Well, it's funny, we actually lost the game. We did lose one of our matches against Mozilla. It's the only reason I've gotten the game all season. Because we lost one game against Mozilla.
You're like, oh, I get to play.
Our Shawnee Elite, as a matter of fact, he's actually from Mozilla. He's an ex-Mozilla person who came over, whose Diamond was playing against one of their golds and lost. Again, I'm pretty sure doing an all-in that failed.
Well, you know, he's giving the gift to other people of being excited and feeling good about themselves. So he's good at giving. So he's a good person.
There you go.
Well, that was a great game, man.
We jump back up here, and
I really liked your analysis, showing what you were thinking at that time. Because when I give my analysis of what I'm thinking to the replays I'm watching, it was like, this was bad. But then this part happened, and he killed all the units, so I was excited. Right, that's about my level of analysis.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully, I quit out of StarCraft here. We're still looking at StarCraft. Damn you, transitions. Alright, there we go. Back to us. Thanks both of you for coming out and doing some replay analysis and talking about your teams and the season. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
Obviously, hope both of you guys do well today. Only one of you can win. I'm I refuse to take sides. I'm not putting money on it.
Or when you turn the camera off.
Well, maybe when the camera's off. But yeah, it should be hopefully a really good bunch of games. I want to keep calling them epic games, but that seems
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, they will be epic in scope, but
Yes.
not in the Victor or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for talking.
So,
Thanks
good
a lot.
luck, and yeah, hopefully we'll talk again and see who the winner is.
Yeah. Bye.